This is Algebra 1, Keystone Review Part 3. We're going to talk about compound and absolute value inequalities. So the first one we're going to talk about is a compound inequalities, and that's just when two inequalities are joined by an and or an or. If it's an and situation, that's when it's combined. It's a solid line. You can write it either with the word and, or you could write it as one inequality. You put the variable in the middle, use less than symbols. You put the lower value to the left, the higher value to the right. If it's an or situation, then it's going to be a broken line on the number line, and you write it with an or. So the first one, this is an and situation. They wrote as a single inequality. So let's go ahead and solve that. So what I like to do, you could break it into two parts, but I like doing it just in one piece. It's a little bit easier in my opinion. Whoops. Copy this over so we have some room to work. So whatever you're going to do to the right-hand side, you have to do to the left-hand side. So we want to isolate our x. So first let's get rid of that minus 3. So we're going to add 3 to it. So that means we've got to do it to the left and we've got to do it to the right. So I'm going to add 3 here and I'm going to add 3 here. So that gives me 10 is less than negative 2x is less than 14. Now we've got to get rid of that negative 2. So we're going to divide everything by negative 2. And we see we're dividing by a negative. As soon as you see you're dividing by a negative, we're going to flip our signs. So 10 divided by negative 2 gives us negative 5. 14 divided by negative 2 gives us negative 7. I'm going to flip this whole thing because I like less than symbols and I like my lower value to the left. So I'm going to say negative 7 is less than x is less than negative 5. So if you think of that on a number line, x has to be more than negative 7, but it's got to be less than negative 5. So it's going to look something like this. So right away I know these ones are wrong because this is an and situation, so it's not going to be a broken line. So we want it more than negative 7 but less than negative 5, so it looks like A is our correct answer. Now, an or situation, you can't do it in one statement. We're going to have to do it two separate statements, which is fine. Let's go ahead and add 4 to both sides. So I get negative 3x is less than negative 3. Divide each side by negative 3. And as soon as we see we're dividing by a negative, I'm going to flip that sign. So x has to be more than negative 1, or let's subtract 1 from each side. I get negative 2x is greater than 4. Divide each side by negative 2. Again, we're dividing by negative, so I'm going to flip my sign, and I get negative 2. So x has to be more than 1 or less than negative 2. So you can see that's going to be a broken line. So let's see what that looks like. Here's 1. It's going to be greater than 1. So open circle, shade to the right. And here's negative 2, open circle, shade to the left. And that's what it's going to look like. You can leave it just written like this. You can't combine it, or you can give your number line. All right, let's talk about absolute values. When we do absolute value inequalities, you do it twice. Once the way it's written, so I'm going to say b plus 8 is greater than or equal to 7. Subtract 8 from each side. So I get b is greater than or equal to negative 1. And then if you remember, we have to do it a second time, but this time we flip the sign and we make it a negative answer. So I'm going to subtract 8 from each side, and you get b is less than or equal to negative 15. I knew this was going to be a broken and or situation when it's an absolute value and it's greater than. If you could sort of think of who lives more than 5 miles from the school. If this is the school, the people that live more than 5 miles from the school are going to be these people if they're greater than. If you say, hey, who lives less than 5 miles from the school? If this is the school and this is the 5 miles, it would be this. So anytime it's a greater than situation in an absolute value, it's going to be a broken one. We knew it was going to be or. So right away I can cancel these guys out. I know they're wrong. So now I'm looking for it's greater than -1 or it's less than -15. So I could see D is the choice we're looking for. All right, please try the practice problems. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.